Okay, now I've finished all my embellishments on the front. All my ugly stitching is hidden in the back. Now we're going to have a look at stitching the back to the front. Now if you've cut them correctly, they should line up. You can see I've got minor mismatches, but that's absolutely fine. A little bit of mismatch will be fine. Now, you might like to use a few pins to hold your two pieces together, especially if you're still new to this sewing. So I'm going to use a few pins to hold especially these smaller areas together where I'm going to have a lot of trouble. See where it starts getting narrower here? I'm going to use a pin going through from the front to the back and then back to the front. It's not just in so it's sticking out and can stab someone, but from the front to the back and then back to the front. So your needle is sitting flat, sorry, your pin is sitting flat against your fabric. Now, that's probably enough. I might put one more bit here. When you're choosing where to start, this is where you are going to leave an opening for your stuffing to go in between the front and the back. So you're going to start in an area, sometimes a fairly narrow area, where it might be tricky to put stuffing into. You want it to be an area where you can go in and get stuffing to all the areas that are hard to reach in your ugly doll. So that's going to be different for everybody. Okay, I'm going to choose it down here because it's going to be nice and easy for me to, under his arm, to reach through to all the areas, all his limbs basically. Okay, so I'm going to start here. I'm going to go all the way around the edge, and then I'm going to stop. I'm going to mark with a piece of chalk where I'm stopping and starting. I'm going to start here. I'm going to stop here. Okay, I've marked with my chalk where I'm going to start and then where I'm going to end. This is going to stay an opening once I've sewn all this around before I put my stuffing in. So this is going to be my little gap where I get all my stuffing in. So now we need to thread the eye of our needle again. Remember all those tricks. You can moisten it, you can trim it, you can twist it, thread the eye of your needle, pull it through a fair way, and then long end a big chunky knot. Twisting around your fingers, roll it along, let it tangle up in your fingers, big chunky knot. Okay, I don't want this big chunky knot on the outside of my ugly doll. I'm happy to see my stitches. I'm going to make my stitches visible all the way along, but I want this big chunky knot to hide on the inside. So I'm actually going to pick up only one piece of fabric and do one small stitch so my chunky knot is hiding on the inside. Now I'm going to do my over stitch all the way around my edge. And I'm going to do them quite close together because I don't want any of the stuffing coming out. So this is where we go in behind every time. I want my stitches nice and small and tight along the edge. Pulling that extra bit through again, so I've only got one thread. Okay, you can see that my thread is getting quite short now, so even that's a little bit short, but you need to finish it off before you run out of thread to tie a knot. So I'm going to do a few tight knots on top of themselves. Tight stitches on top of themselves, or you can also use your needle to thread through one of those previous stitches and make a knot. So I'm tying a knot, but without having to use my fingers, I'm actually using the needle to hold it. So that's just like a knot that you would tie with a thread, except rather than using my fingers, I've used my needle to hold the thread. And trim that off. Fairly close, but not enough that it comes undone. And then you need to get a new thread and keep going.